Hello there, Cardinals. It's me, Mr. Ernst, and in this video, we are going to be talking about finding a linear equation from a table. Last time we were doing it from a graph. This time we're going to make the old y is equal to mx plus b from a table. Okay? So let's get right to it. Just like last time, we're going to start off by finding slope first, which is still how the x and y values change. Cool? So I want to know what is my change in y over my change in x. Starting with my y value, I'm looking at this. I'm going to 4, 6. Each time this is going up by 2 as it goes down. So my change in y is going to be a positive 2. Notice this is very similar to the graph. We're just finding the information in a different way. For my x value, how my x value is changing from 0 to 1, it's adding 1. And then from 1 to 2, it's adding 1. So my x value is changing by adding 1 each time. So my x value is going to be a positive 1. And there's my slope. 2. My change in y is a 2. My x is a plus 1. I've got 2 over 1. Bada bing. Bam. Done. Slope. Perfect. Let's move on to y-intercept. One step at a time. By the way, when you guys are solving these, it's not a bad idea to set something like this up so that you take this one step at a time. If you try to find the slope and the y-intercept at the same time, you're going to confuse your poor brain, and you're probably going to have trouble figuring it out, okay? Just take it one step at a time. Next up, y-intercept, where the line crosses the y-axis, okay? Something to remember about this, especially with the tables, that when it crosses the y-axis, the x value is going to be equal to 0. So just like beforehand, we want to see on our table, where does x equal 0, which is right here. Which means that this right here is my y-intercept. So my y-intercept in this case is going to be 2. No calculation required. Easy. Now I can fill in my equation. Y is equal to the m value, which is 2 over 1, 2 over 1, multiplied by this x, plus b. And my b value is a positive 2. And there's my equation. Y is equal to 2 over 1 x plus 2. My slope, my y-intercept. Let's take a look at our next example. Next table. Once again, starting off with our slope, looking for our change in y over my change in x. My y value, looking at my pattern here, from 5 to 8 to 11, is going up by 3 each time. 5 plus 3 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. On my x value, so my y value will be a positive 3. My x value goes from negative 2 to 0. So this is adding 2. And then from 0 to a positive 2. So once again, it adds 2. So my x value is going to be, my change in x is going to be the number 2. And there's my slope. 3 over 2. 3 over 2. Let's find that y-intercept. Once again, y-intercept is going to be where the line crosses the y-axis, or in other words, where x is equal to 0. In this case, x is equal to 0 here, so this is my y-intercept of 8. Time to write the whole thing out. Y is equal to, starting off with my slope of 3/2, multiplied by x, and then I've got my plus 8. And there's my equation. Y is equal to 3/2 x plus 8. My slope and my y-intercept. Again, you can make any line using these tactics, which is pretty neat. Next example. Now this one might seem a little crazy because there's so much information going on here. But remember, with slope and with y-intercept, there's very, very few points you actually need to make this happen. Everything else is just kind of extra, and we just don't need them, okay? With slope, remember, to find change, you need only 2 points. Just like I said, from Las Vegas to San Diego, right? If I asked you from directions from Las Vegas to, and I never gave you a second point, you wouldn't be able to tell me the change between those two. From Las Vegas, though, to San Diego, you guys could tell me what the change is. So we're going to pick just 2 points. This point and this point. Once again, we're looking for my change in y over my change in x. My y value went down by 5, so that's going to be minus 5 for my y value. Notice I'm only having to do it between these 2 points. I only have to really do it once to get what my pattern is, as long as we know this is a linear equation. My x value went from negative 6 to a negative 4, so this went up by 2. If you get kind of confused with the negatives, you can always come down here and check out what's going on down here. Same type of thing. This is still going up by 2. Again, it doesn't matter which 2 points you choose, you're always going to see the same pattern anywhere in the equation. So my x value is changing by a positive 2. Y value is going down by 5. X value is increasing by 2. So I have negative 5 over 2. Negative 5 over 2. Let's find our y-intercept. Again, y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis, which causes our x value to be equal to 0. So we're just going to look down our list here and find, there's where y is equal to 0. Or, I'm sorry, our x value is equal to 0, which means our y value is 85. It's a big number this time, but that doesn't make it any more difficult to work with. Still the same process as before. Equation. Y is equal to negative 5 over 2 multiplied by my x, and then I've got a positive 85. And there is my equation, okay? Notice the big number, the larger number did not change anything for me. The pattern is still exactly the same. Final example. I also want to point out when we solved this, again, we were given, 7 different points, I think? We only used these 2 points to find slope, and then we used this point to find y-intercept. I didn't need this. I didn't need any of this stuff. It was just extra, okay? So make sure that doesn't overwhelm you. Just because there's a lot of points doesn't mean there's a lot of work. Last example. Once again, starting with slope, looking for my change in y over my change in x. My y value in this case is increasing by 5 each time. And my x value, let's actually update that. My y value is going up by 5 each time, so positive 5. And my x value is going down by 3. Took me a minute. Down by 3 each time. So it's going to be a negative 3 for my change in x. 5 over negative 3. 5 over negative 3. Next up, let's find our y-intercept. Y-intercept, once again, where the crosses the y-axis, or in other words, where x is equal to 0. But once again, just like in the video where I talked about these tables, we don't actually have a 0 here, which is kind of a problem. But again, we can follow the patterns downwards to find where x is equal to 0. So again, if we're looking at our pattern, we already know from doing our slope, this is going down by 3, down by 3, and we can continue that pattern this way because we want to eventually find where 0 is. So once again, down by 3 brings me from 6 minus 3 is 3. Let's go one more time on that. 3 minus 3 gives me 0. There we go. Same thing for my y value. I'm going to be following my y value down. Again, this is adding 5. Adding 5, and I'm just going to continue the pattern to find where the matching pair is here. Add 5, so I've got 15 plus 5 is 20. But that's not the one, that's not the y-intercept yet. Got to go one more time. Plus 5. So now I have 20 plus 5 gives me 25. And that is where x is equal to 0, and that is where my y-intercept is. Y-intercept is going to be 25. So my final equation, once again, y is equal to my slope, 5 over negative 3, multiplied by x, and then a positive 25. And there you have it. Again, don't let the big numbers scare you. They go in there exactly the same way as anything else. But there's my equation. Y is equal to 5 over negative 3x plus 25. And that's it. That is how you find a linear equation from a table. Remember, take this one step at a time. Carefully find your slope, find your y-intercept, and then simply plug them into the equation, okay? There's no reason to stress about this as long as you just take it slow, and you should be fine, okay? Thanks for watching.